This is episode 149 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dion Morales, and today I'm joined by Marcel Dace is the Ace Manzano.
You know that's right, and you better get that right.
Will, if you can fly jank, you can fly competitive, Hagewood.
Yeah, be able to fly everything. Get it done.
And Ryan, eternally ultra-violent, Staniszewski.
I have Conquer Doom Eternal on Ultra-Violent, which sounds like a really hard difficulty, but that's only their middle difficulty. It only gets worse.
It only gets worse. Well, I'm glad that you were able to accomplish said thing. You should feel proud.
There's a lot of demons died by my achievement.
All right, everybody. So today, our main topic, we're going to be talking about online X-Wing etiquette. But before we get into that, let's hit you with the news and a couple of updates for our patrons. So news-wise, little light on news this week. But as you guys know, the Jank Tank should have started. If you are playing games, you should, and you've signed up, you've gone through all the steps. Make sure that you're find out who your opponent is, schedule said game, and go ahead. You have 1 week to get that done. We are recording this on Monday. You have round 2 starts next Monday, so go ahead and get that game in and have some fun. I need to find out what our final number for charity is because I don't know exactly how many people followed through on all the things, but we'll talk about that next week. As for Patreon update, want to let you guys know a couple of things. So for all of our commander levels, for you guys getting the Vultures versus Ahsoka poster, that is officially packed. I took it to the post office today, and it should be on the way. As for the cards and all that, I was able to get some help with that, and my help is working on getting everything packed. And as things actually get taken to the post office, I will let you guys know. But basically, I made sure I made sure that I hired somebody who currently isn't able to work, and put them to work for GSP. So that's awesome. And then that should be good. Packed and being shipped. All right. I think we're ready to jump into our topic today. Now, if you're watching live, if you want to chime in as to some things of online X-Wing etiquette that you'd like us to talk about, make sure to give us a tag at Gold Squadron Podcast so that we can see your message in the chat, and we'll try to work it in seamlessly as we talk about this. So as you know, we're currently in a world where we cannot play X-Wing in person. I will tell you, playing X-Wing in person is the best way to play X-Wing. I don't think anybody would argue with that, but we do have some awesome ways to play X-Wing online versus other people for different tournaments, and it should be known how to do this in a way that makes the experience enjoyable for yourself and the opponent, and just maybe trying to, maybe for some newer players or people who are not as used to playing on these online platforms, kind of avoiding some of the faux pas or things that maybe somebody who's a veteran of using these tools might kind of go like, what are you doing? So that's our hope today. And if there's any additional things, if you're watching on YouTube later, go ahead, put them in the comments down below, and we will try to hit that next week on our show. So we're basically going to go round robin style here. We're going to go around the circle till we get as many things as possible. And I want to start with just talking about etiquette deals in general with online X-Wing, and then we'll get into the specific platforms for those maybe corner cases that are part of that. All right, so I'll go ahead and let's see. You guys on my screen are lined up: Will, Marcel, Ryan. So we're going to go ahead and we will start with Will.
All right, what do you want to start with?
So whatever. Pick something from our list or something from your heart, man. Whatever you want.
I'm just gonna start with where you start, and that's where you started playing online. and that's looking for a game. We have a lot of tools available throughout the internet. Main one being Discord. So I find a lot of my games, even on our GSP Discord, there is a place to post when you're looking for a game. I believe Vassal should have its own Discord, and most likely, actually, I'm not in the X-Wing Vassal. Is anybody?
X-Wing Discord? I am in.
Well, like the X-Wing Vassal Discord.
Vasco, I actually am not. I'm not aware. If there is one, let's find
I used
it.
to be on it, but I got out of it a while ago. I used to be in the league, like the Vassal League, and that's when I was on it. But after I stopped going to the league or stopped signing up for the league, I just deleted it.
So it does exist.
Yeah, it exists. There's a ton of people there, and there's people always looking for games.
Cool.
Mostly, though, the reason I left is most of the people there are looking for league matches, so it's really hard to find the pickup game. Mostly, it's just people there, or they also have the Slack for it as well. So
they love Slack with Vassal. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't like Slack. I would much prefer Discord, but
I'm not a big fan of Slack either, because if you're in like if you have some for work and then you have some for personal, and you're using them on the same computer, like if you're working from home or you're working on a project at home for work, Slack tries to like mix things up for you, and I'm not a big fan of Slack for non-work stuff.
that makes a lot of sense. But well, let's see. So there's one exclusively for the Tabletop Simulator mod. There's places you can find it in Fly Better's Discord. Actually, honestly, any podcast or even your local group should have a Discord or can make one. Obviously, Facebook is an easy way to contact people. Just post in your local groups. I see it all the time on Facebook now. Just people posting in their local groups if they want to play with somebody they're a little bit more familiar with. If they don't want to, say, play against somebody where there could be a language barrier or any number of other things. And then that's just outside of just the places themselves. In Tabletop, I just leave the game open, either saying like looking for game. I just name the room looking for game, or no password or something like that. And eventually somebody drops in. And on Vassal, you just do the little, what is it, blue check mark?
Exclamation
I believe,
point,
yeah, because it's black X, blue check mark, or exclamation point. That's what it is. And yeah, that way you can let everybody else on Vassal know that you are trying to get into a game. Even if you're kind of like observing somebody else's game in a different room. So when they just are looking through people, looking for those exclamation points, they can send out different messages. You could just start messaging people in the main room, though it might not be likely that you get a response. Some people just have it up waiting for something else, or like waiting for somebody else to join in. Let's see, trying to think of any other way outside of Facebook, Discord, Slack, and the other places. What else do you guys got? Is there another place where you could find a game?
Well, I mean, so we talk about local group, but if, for instance, if your local group has like maybe transitioned your like league into online, I know this might seem really simple, but just like message your friends. Right? Sometimes they're like, "Hey,
yeah,
are you
fair.
available?" And you could end up, scheduling something if something can't happen in that very moment. But I'll be honest, in my experience, I have found that if in that moment I want a game, I can usually find a game. Usually, if I have like
you're Dion Morales, like I mean, really, like if you go and you say, I want a game, you'll have like 20 people say like, I'll play you. I mean, they'll even be in the middle of a match and be like, get out of here, scrub. I'm going to go play Dion. Like, come on.
I'm trying to say
We're
that it's
talking
not
about
that far.
us lowly peons over here.
Right, okay. No, I'm just trying to say that most people can find a game pretty easily, okay?
Yeah, I would say on Tabletop, the longest I've waited is maybe like a half hour. On Vassal, I don't know. I haven't been. Normally, when I play Vassal, I'm playing it with somebody I know.
See, for
So
me,
I'm not
it's the other
quite.
way around.
Mhm.
It's easier for me to find a pickup game on Vassal, but up until recently, which is to the whole quarantine thing, I used to only be able to find games if I call it out somewhere. Because when I go on Vassal and put the little, Metal Gear Solid stress mark up, they most people would be like, "Oh, I'm here just specifically for a league match, for like a Vassal league, or some kind of tournament." So they don't, not as many people are just down
That,
for like open play.
that makes sense. I think that there a lot of like local groups meet up in these different places, but I would say on tabletop now there's less like I would say there's currently not a large scale official league like there is for Vessel, which is definitely a way, like if you're looking for consistent games, Vassal I think has more opportunities to play in tournaments. Obviously the Gold Knock Jank Tank Open is going on Vassal, so that would be definitely the route to go if you're looking for sustained games over like a longer period of time.
Right. All right. So Marcel, what's some other things that people should know about?
Communication. I think that's like the number one etiquette is just clear communication. Now that could be, it's different on each platform. So on Tabletop Simulator, you have the click to see to talk. Also on Vassal, you can make arrangements to jump on Discord, which is probably the easiest thing. Get a Discord channel going. I used to hate Discord. I'm starting to use it a little bit more now than I was before, just because kind of got forced into it by a few things. But before, I'd be like, let's just jump on an actual phone call, or let's do a messenger call, whatever it is. Just I think that tends to make games go by a little bit smoother. But if you're not in that kind of scenario, or you don't have a headset, or you're playing and you're playing at work and you don't want your boss to know, so you don't want to call it out, or you don't want the other boss of your better half to know you're sneaking in a game. Just clear communication. So call out everything that you're going to do in the chat, and just be clear. All right, system phase, call it out. Do you have any triggers? Measure the range and then say range. And usually you start figuring out like the shortcuts, like R3, fell, V, Inquisitor, or something like that. But call it out and then put in how many number of dice, like 3v4, and just be very clear. And if you're spending your focus, if you're spending your target lock, don't assume that just because you grab it and you put it on the side, that somebody will know that you put it on the side. Like be clear and say, I will spend my target lock and re-roll, and be specific about what you're re-rolling. Are you re-rolling the focuses, or you're just re-rolling the blanks? Be as clear as you can in every step of the game, and that's what's going to avoid a few things. It's going to avoid, obviously, miscommunication, and something's going to go wrong, but it's also going to avoid the game just dragging on longer than it should be, because then you have to go back and discuss, like, hey, what happened to that target lock? Oh, I re-rolled it here. Oh, did you, and then that communication, because you're chatting and you're not talking, you're typing it all in, will extend the, an hour 15 game into a 2-hour game, into a 2-hour game pretty quick. So just really clear communication in every step that you're taking, whether you're on voice chat preferably, or you're typing. As far as, if we were just doing what do they call them? Quick takes. That would be my not so quick take.
No worries. Brian, go for it.
So one thing that's pretty good to do so that everyone has the best experience in the games and is very clear, kind of on the lines of communication, is make sure you communicate with whoever you're playing against or could be playing against, any potential caveats or things they should know before the game, such as your experience level with the software. If you are new or newer, it's good to let your opponent know so they have that expectation and the ability to say, oh yeah, this is where I can help you do this or do this. Make sure that if you're the newer person and you want to kind of learn for yourself for a bit, then let them know so they're not immediately jumping to try and help you find the key. They give you a second to try and help you figure it out, and they're aware that might take a little bit extra time and to kind of build that in, and then the players know that going forward. On top of that, we're all at home, and a lot of people have their families at home with them too. So if there's any caveat of, oh, I need to take care of my kid probably during this time, I might jump off for like a minute or two to go take care of something, or hey, I need to take care of putting the dinner in the oven, but I'll jump in and jump, just be upfront with any situation you're currently in. Everyone's usually pretty understandable about, hey, I got to take care of these things. They'll say, I'll be back in a sec. And then they'll leave, and then it lets the person know that, they have a sec to also maybe take a bathroom break or whatever. That's why a lot of times these online games are either not timed, they're more round based, whether it's 12 rounds, or if everyone's pretty free and clear and getting their time in, they do 60 minutes plus 2 rounds, or they do the standard 75-minute and just the ability to pause it in like TTS, for example. So just make sure you have like clear communication going into the matchup so that in case someone that may be trying to get a quick game in is aware that, say, hey, a new guy comes up and says, hey, I'd like to do a game, but I'm just, getting the ropes on Vassal a little bit, so I might need a little bit of help. Is that okay with you? They could politely say back, hey, I just got on to do a quick game. Sorry, but hey, good luck finding a future game, and maybe I can help you next time, type of thing. So make sure people know and the expectations are clear to each player so that they can prepare themselves for however long the game could take, for maybe potential interruptions during the game, it's not a big deal to them, and so forth.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, absolutely. And I think the time piece that you're talking about there is just really important. Like if you have limited time, just be upfront with that, whether it is somebody coming to you or you going to them saying, hey, I have an hour and a half right now and I need to play a timed game. Is that cool? And most people will tell you yes or no. And then if somebody asks you that question, be upfront. Like, do you actually have an hour and a half to sit in front of your computer without getting up? And be honest. Like, hey, sorry, I'm also watching you could say maybe I'm watching my toddler at the same time. But don't, if you know you're in a situation where you are likely to be interrupted, let them know. That way, it's not a surprise. That just sours the experience. And hopefully, those people who do need, I have time for one game without interruptions, and I gotta go, they can find somebody who also has that availability. It's just politeness. So just making sure that you have the time. Make sure that you have the time to play, essentially. Now, talking and going back to Marcel's point, talking about voice chat specifically. Some people are not very comfortable with voice chat, and some people have some bad habits that kind of leak over from talking on the phone and or maybe just not being super experienced with voice chat. So I want to talk about that. Now, I do, like Marcel said, I recommend every time you play an online game, if you can have a voice chat, do it, okay? If you are on our Discord, we have several rooms for online play. Just go ahead and jump in there, and you can do it. If you're on TTS, there is a built-in push to talk, okay? So you go, and that is with the letter C key. You hold it down, you speak, you finish your sentence, let it go. That way you don't get cut off. But use it, please. But when you're using it, especially if you're like me personally, I don't enjoy using push to talk. I like the microphone just to pick me up. but I also have pretty good microphone etiquette. So, for instance, like don't chew gum, right? Well, in the middle of the game can get kind of annoying. And be aware of your microphone and how it works. So, for instance, if you're not very good or very understanding on how a microphone works, you do some testing yourself. A lot of times, if you're on Discord, for instance, there's a level checker where it shows you if you talk this loud, this is when the microphone will turn on or not. And if your opponent says something like, I can barely hear you, it might be something as simple as bringing the microphone closer to your mouth, or if you're too loud, doing those adjustments and just working with your system and computer to figure out what's going to work best for you. I 1000% recommend that you use a headset or headphones of some kind, because one of the most annoying things with any type of video conferencing, and if anybody out there is having to work from home with large groups of people, you have met the people who are not aware of this, where they are using their computer speakers and they have an open microphone and it starts this weird loop back where you can hear like the speaker talking through their microphone, and this weird thing happens. It can it's a little disturbing sometimes for the person who's speaking to hear themselves loop back. But also it's annoying. If you're playing music in the background, that could be annoying. Like play it in your headset only for you. Things like that, and just mute often. If you need to mute and just be aware of it. You guys, you longtime viewers of the show, know that I often forget to unmute myself. So when something's going wrong and your opponent isn't reacting to what you're saying, double check to see if you're muted. But just being aware of what's going on. If you're eating or something like that, and you can maybe move the microphone away from your mouth, that should be good, because sometimes you gotta eat while playing. It happens. And just trying to be, again, polite to the person who you're voice chatting with on the other side. And if you're going to be using that voice chat, which, again, we super recommend, communicate with the person, right? And just make sure that you're actually talking. At least, at the minimum, you don't have to have a conversation and ask them about their day and how their grandma's doing. But, talk about the game. But talk about what you're doing so that there's not confusion. All right, Will, what's something else?
Let's talk about, especially in light of the Jank Tank Open. Basically, bringing a really weird list. We're talking weirdly named bombers, hyena bombers, TIE bombers, all those weird interactions. Talking about like combo pieces, like, if I give Jake or use Jake to give Lebo a focus, I'll use Maze Balbus and yada yada yada. So it's always nice to just in the opening, when you're doing these kind of clarifications, when you're not sure, especially with random people, when you're not sure quite their experience level, or you might need to ask them like, hey, are you familiar with how Krennic actually works, or why handmaidens add an evade instead of changing one? With the multitude of factions and cards we have right now, not everybody is a seasoned podcaster or podcast listener that knows every weird interaction. Most players are thankfully newer to the game. Probably only been playing second edition, and maybe playing only a couple factions, right? That they're really like seriously invested into as far as seeing the combos and things. So anytime you're bringing these kind of weird lists, your Jank Tank list, things that only work in specific situations, or even errata, that's something that I would definitely cover with your opponent. If they have, I don't know, what's a weird errata that's happened lately? Static discharge veins, super random. But just being like, hey, there's an errata on that, slightly different now. What's another good one? Tractoring somebody.
Yeah,
if you
turning.
tractor somebody, let them know. Like, hey, if you're not aware, This is what you're allowed to do. You can rotate and take a stress. And even gas clouds. A lot of people are not as familiar with the new ruling on gas clouds. So just be aware that there are newer players trying to learn. That's why they're playing online, is that they want more experience with the game. So it's not, don't fault them. Just use it as a teaching moment to learn together.
Cool. And I wanted to take a second and address a question in the chat. Lou the Lunatic asked, is it rude to have an open mic and a mechanical keyboard? So I'm going to give my opinion. You guys can throw in here. So mechanical keyboard, like I have one, but I would say it depends on how loud you're typing, and you should honestly check. If you're looking at microphone levels, if you have the capability to record yourself, which everybody does, by the way, there's a program called Audacity. It's 100% free. Go ahead and record yourself typing and talking and see kind of what the balance is. Now, one of the things I can find a little bit that might come off as rude or distracting is I understand that, let's say you're in a situation where you can't where you're playing an online game and trying to multitask. Let's say you're trying to do something else for work or something like that. If I'm playing a game with you with an open mic and your typing isn't related to my, like, if I'm just hearing like brrrr in the background, like our entire game, I'm wondering, like, are you paying attention to our game? And then also just the sound can get kind of annoying if, like, it's just constant. And it's like when I make a mechanical keyboard sound for myself, I know what's coming, so it doesn't bother me. But I've been on calls where people are just rattling away while talking to me, and it doesn't feel like I have their attention, which just decreases the amount of fun for me personally. That's how I feel about it. If you need to be doing work or something else like that, just mute yourself while you're typing. That's the way I look at it. I don't know if there's anything in there.
If you're using an open mic, mute anytime you're not talking, please, because it will pick up the background noise. Obviously, it's an open mic.
Yep. All right, Marcel, it was your turn.
All right. Let me see. We touched on most of them. I mean, you have a couple things listed there that are might not be common knowledge, but some people feel it is. On Vassal, for example, is map orientation. Most people like to play left to right.
I don't want to hit that one yet. Let's talk about the general first before we hit the specifics.
Dude, you wrote it down.
I know I wrote it down, but I don't want to do those yet. We'll get there in a second.
Okay, well, the other things that you have written down are when you're done moving and taking actions that you state that you're done. But all that falls into communication. Just be clear. But somebody in the chat did bring up earlier, like, how do you let people know you're done and stuff like that? And normally you just say set, and then other people use the little like hand button that says say set in your hand, like in your Vassal hand or whatever you call it. And I was stating that I actually hate it when people do that. When people use the built-in set one,
the built-in set click.
Yeah, I hate it because what happens is it's the system chat. It doesn't distinguish it from all the other system stuff. So like player A does 2 hard left, player B rolls focus hit crit, all of that. It's the same color of it, and especially if you're going voice chat. No, actually not if you're going voice chat, but especially if you're not typing a lot. And they just click set, like they move and then they click the set button. It's the same color as the moves that just got executed. So it's, I find myself, having to ask set, and then later on, or just keep looking at the screen, like staying there, like, oh, when is he going to say set? But if you just type in set, it's the font is in black font. So I think it stands out and it's easier to see, because I typically don't like follow all the system logs. I just look at what the other player is saying.
Now, I know that there is
a peep for me.
I know that there is a little bit of customization in settings as to what things are what color font, but if it's considered a system speak, it would still be the same color. It'd just be whatever
It's a
you said
system
it's on.
message, yeah, and
Yeah.
it shows up in the same as like doing a barrel roll or rolling, and it's harder to tell. For me, it's just harder to tell when the player is set. So that's just kind of annoying. So if that's one of you and I've played against you, yeah, I found you annoying.
But I think the point of this kind of section is, whether you're, maybe communicate how you're going to let people know that you are quote unquote set, and just be consistent with it, right? And here we can go ahead and start going into the different platforms. On TTS, there's that little arrow if you press tab, right, that lets you point to the thing. That's Will taught me that, right? The little arrow. That basically
dinging everything.
Yep.
Yeah, and you spam it when you get annoyed at
Oh
someone.
yeah.
Ding, ding,
Yeah,
ding, ding.
yeah. That's you can also use it for excitement.
Yep.
Or you can use it for somebody's taking too long and it's like ding, ding, set, ding, 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 set, ding, 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 set.
And then, like as Marcel said, saying set in the chat window, or if you're on voice chat, saying even when I play, I say the word set because it's such a good like I am ready to continue in a very small word. Now,
I say that at the table in real life too.
Yeah.
Like I'm set. Like,
exactly. Yeah. Now, Marcel, I'll go ahead and I'll give you what you were going to talk about on Vassal. We'll go ahead and start differentiating some specific things to the different software. So make sure you guys are talking about what software you're hitting here. Go ahead.
So the map orientation, most people play left to right, and just that's just kind of the way it is. So if you're practicing on your own, or if you're first starting to play, and somebody says, "Hey, so what side do you want to be?" and you say, "Oh, I want to be up, and I want to go up down," they might accommodate you if you're new, but just know that that you're not. It's not going to happen that way. So practice left to right a lot most of the time, and it is kind of it might like irk somebody the wrong way. Also,
well, I think we have to explain why though. So let's differentiate a little bit between TTS and Vassal. So on Vassal, when you're looking at the map, your opponent is looking at the exact same image you are. So if you are saying, "Oh, I want to start at the bottom," so it kind of looks like the way you play, they are being forced to play upside down, right? So instead, the accommodation is both players come from the side, as opposed to on TTS, you have a virtual table and you stand, quote unquote, on your side. So things are going in that orientation. But just understand on Vassal, that's how that works. And continue.
Yep. And also the usually after you decide who has initiative, whether it's by bid or in by bid or by rolling the dice, whoever wins the initiative, whoever is player first, whoever moves first also gets to choose like which side you're deploying on. So whoever moves second takes, says I go left to right or right to left for that.
Yeah, and that
Marcel,
is.
do you have a?
Go ahead, Will.
I was just gonna ask. Do you guys have a preferred side on Vassal? I always choose right. I don't know if that's.
I like the left. I like
don't
starting
care.
from the left. Oh, look at Marcel flexing.
No, I don't. Like I usually. I mean, there's no real.
The difference is that I'm closer to the open area. I start closer to my tokens, I guess.
Oh, you see how but I put my hand on the left, so like when I drag my dials, I drag them to the left.
Oh, see, I have my hand on the right, above the log.
See, that would
I'm
be
same as well.
yeah. That would be an interesting. I've seen people like actually, you know who it was? I was looking at the Jank Tank Open. They had and this is probably could be a little bit of an etiquette thing. In the Jank Tank Open, Nate Moore and his opponent posted the game file, whatever, and I was watching it, and I think it was Nate, but I'm not sure. Put all of the cards, like the full hand, on the red side of the, on the right side of the map, on the red side of the map.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that like harder to follow because I usually don't extend that side of the map too far out. Just because I run out of space. I mean, it goes into my other screen when I do that, like carries over to the next screen. So usually want to keep everything in the hand. The only thing you want to carry over is just like the stuff you need right away, like your tokens or charges and stuff.
Cool. And
it'd be interesting it'd be interesting to see how everybody puts
their screens.
their layouts for it. Like, I'd be interested to see how everybody has their layout, because I have and I'm pretty sure you guys are the same way. I have the way that I set it every single time. It never changes. The same dimensions, the same part of the screen, the same corners, everything.
Yeah, for sure. Every time. Well, mine is optimized for streaming, not necessarily for comfort, which isn't always the most comfortable. But one other thing I wanted to hit on with the whole like choosing sides. So Marcel, in my experience at least, because it sounds like yours is a little bit different, but in my experience, essentially the person who has the bid, right, the person who gets to choose who is first and second player, usually lets the other person choose which side they want. It's kind of like I get something and you get something. So you might run into either or. But yeah, I think the most important part is that we're going left, right. Play left, right. That's important. All right. Ryan, TTS, Vassal, specific etiquette, anything else you want to throw in there?
Nothing specific, but I do want to go over spectator etiquette.
This is great. Yes.
So I commonly, if I hop on the computer and I'm not really feeling up to a game, but I want to check a lot of games out, I'll hop around Vassal. I haven't actively spectated TTS too much. I'll let Will chime in if he has any opinions on this too, for TTS in particular, if it's any different. But for Vassal, when you jump around and spectate, I think one thing which is important, obviously, if you don't want anyone to spectate your game, you can lock the room. All right, so if you're trying to work with very secret tech and new lists and keep it between you and your buddies, like, just lock the room. It's not a big deal. People understand. So they won't be able to jump in and see your game. If you're okay to have spectators, keep it unlocked for the spectator themselves. So there can be instances in games, and I've ran into it myself, where maybe something happens during a game and you notice maybe they may have forgotten something. Then there's a couple things you need to ask yourself. One, what are they playing in? If it's in a special league, if it's in a special event, you need to probably find whoever's in charge if they're online at the time and maybe let them know if they're available. If not, you may need to consider letting that move on. If you feel like there's a need to jump in and tell them they missed something, you need to check yourself first, okay? Double check everything you see on the board in their player hand, double check the rules, like, take your time before you're like, oh, they didn't have a token, jump in immediately, type in, oh, you forgot the thing. Like, some people, obviously most games, they're not there to be interrupted, just like in a real life game.
This is not, it's not Twitch chat that you're typing in. It's important to know that you typing in chat in a Vassal game is you standing by the table and yelling. It's essentially what you're doing.
Yes, very, very much similar to that. So don't put on Twitch chat mode, put on spectator at real life game mode. So if you treat it that same way, that's probably the better way to go. Now, most people, and I've actually interjected in games before, most people that I've done that for, they have said, oh, thank you, we'll do that thing. Or they're like, oh, wait, no, you didn't see this. And then that was my fault for not checking myself and making sure they're like, oh, they know the game state, most likely way more than you do as a spectator. So just, you can, there are chances and reasons and times for you to jump in and let them know that, hey, you forgot this trigger, or this is a must. Because a lot of times, if you think they forgot a thing, that might be a may, and that's unfortunately a missed opportunity. But if you can tell it's a casual game, there's nothing on the line for like a special online event, most of the time people be like, oh, you sure? That's probably best. You know, we don't forget a whole phase. A lot of times system phase, start of activation, end of activation, those are weird ones for a lot of people that'll skip over. So you can obviously be a spectator, A lot of people mostly keep their rooms unlocked to check out games. Just know if you're going to interject, whether it's by rules or just in conversation. If they're having a fun conversation and you just want to like say hi, like you know a buddy who's playing someone but you don't know the other player, just kind of, you know, you just say hi this person and see if much conversation goes. But normally you want to let them play their game, just like in real life.
I would add to that, if you are, what do I want to say? Questioning whether you whether saying something is going to disrupt the game or not. Vassal does allow private messages. I would just private message someone like, hey, I was watching your game. Did you not spend that focus on purpose? So that way, if they're like, oh no, I'm saving it in case I get shot or something like that, you know what I mean? It might actually, bringing it up in the public chat might actually tip their opponent off to their overall strategy. So if you're, like I said, not as confident that both players need to know something, just send them a little private message. And if they don't like it, they can ignore you. It's definitely an option as well.
Yep, there is literally a button on on Vassal that says ignore messages from this person from now on, if you need it. All right, Will, anything else TTS specific that people should maybe know about etiquette wise?
As far as the spectators, I never lock my rooms in tabletop because I want people to see the game being played and like join the room. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather have it out in the world. And there's a lot of people on tabletop right now who are just like, what's X-Wing? I'm like, what's this game? You know what I mean? And they just like, kind of hop on for a couple seconds. But if you don't lock your room, make sure that you go into, it should be settings, or there's a different word, but basically into a type of settings called permissions, and take off the ability for someone to choose their color. Once they choose their color, then they can manipulate the board and basically anything in the mod. We had Marcel could attest to this, that you do not, if
12-year-old.
If you do not do that, if you forget to keep those permissions on, someone can jump in, they can choose a color, and then they can basically do what you're allowed to do in the game. There's 12-year-olds or whatever out there trolling. I'm not gonna lie that there's not. And I guess you could do it. I haven't seen it on Vassal. I'll give a credit to that most people on Vassal, if they are like trying to spectate a game, they won't become like player 3 and start touching ships or tokens or anything.
I've seen it happen on accident, right? Where somebody,
That's
so when you jump into a game, you'll have a bunch of different options. It'll say, who do you want to be? Don't choose player 3, choose observer, because observer will not allow you to click and drag anything in the game. But one of the maybe security flaws, we'll call it, and it's not really like security flaw like, virus or anything like that, but it's the fact that you do get the option to be like, you know what, I am going to be player 3 and control all, delete, all your things. But don't be that person, right? Don't be that person. Just be aware, if you're going to be an observer, to actually have that observer setting set.
Can you kick people out of your room in Vassal?
Well, that would mean you would have locked the room, right? And then you would pass.
I don't know. I've never. Luckily, I've always had good experiences with everyone on Vassal, so I've never come across this problem.
Yeah, I know.
Vassal's a little different because you have to know the game, be aware of the game, download the module. There's more effort involved in getting to spectate a Vassal game, whereas Tabletop Simulator, you just go, let me find something random. Let me type in Star Wars to see what kind of Star Wars games are out there, and then you get randos that show up and watch for a little. I'll get bored and highlight everything and then toss it off the table.
Yeah, unfortunately, in tabletop, the undo button doesn't just fix everything as much as it should. It's a little bit more complicated. So,
right, and then a couple of other things we need to hit on is in TTS, one common thing when you play in real life, right, are cocked dice. In TTS, there is no such thing as a cocked die. It will, when you put your hand on top of it in the game, it will tell you what the die face is. So there's no like re-rolling or for any issue like that, because the computer has already decided what the face of the die is. It just also has this physics engine, and I have yet to ever see it like say anything like re-roll. It's halfway between this and this. It just makes a decision for you. So that is.
But you can get it to roll back into the dice pool, and then you got
yes, you can do that.
But also another thing, just to get, I don't know how common or uncommon it is, but I'm playing like the Vagabond Open from the UK, and one of their rules is that you roll the dice on the off table so it doesn't bounce around and just land on things. So they actually take out, instead of pulling dice, they take like 6 greens, 6 reds, and they lay them on the table that's not being used, and all dice rolling happens on that table. So it takes a little getting used to, because
that's a little strange. A little superstitious, maybe like, oh, we don't want to hit other models.
That's pretty common actually, to roll on the empty table.
Really?
But if you're not as familiar with tabletop, if you can't like zoom out and switch over like real quick, if you're getting used to controls, it makes sense just to keep it where things are easily accessible.
Yeah, I always keep the same orientation as Vassal on it anyway. Makes me feel like I'm Tyler Tippett or Duncan Howard, just like peering over the table from like 20 feet up in the air. So that's one of the benefits. I get to grow a few feet.
Right, and I guess that's the streamer in me going like, why would you roll on another table? But
what, you have a specific dice box that you guys roll in. How is that different?
Because digitally, I don't have another camera to go look at. Ain't nobody got time to be.
I've been working on it, by the way. trying to get someone to make us a custom tabletop. What do I want to say? Like dice cam area.
Dice box, yeah.
I'm working on what I need is a third computer and a third account, and route it in, and I'll have the camera there, and we could do the same overlay as usual. And my power bill will be super high, but it'll be fine because it's for the people. All right. But, yeah, and then just for right now, I don't know if you guys know, but if you're listening within the next 14 hours, TTS is actually on sale right now on the Steam store for 50% off. No promo here. This is just the truth. So normally it's $20 to get Tabletop Simulator, which allows you to play all these different games and stuff like that. But it is the vessel in which the TTS that we're talking about for X-Wing exists. And if you need any help setting all that up, we do have a tutorial, a quick and dirty tutorial we printed, you know what I mean, recorded, me and Will. Sorry, Will, words are hard. I'll explain why later. We'll have a little Dion time at the end of the podcast. So I'll explain my adventures that I've had over the last couple days. But yeah, is there anything else let me know, people in the chat, Will, Marcel, Ryan, anything else that you can think of?
Just whatever etiquette is on when you're face to face with someone, just follow the same etiquette. That's really the nuts and bolts of it. Is there's really not much difference other than you have to be clear in your communication, but all the etiquettes, explain your lists, do this, do that, be courteous, be nice, don't yell at the dice like, oh, this program, don't talk about like, oh, I'm gonna lady luck this so bad and stuff like that. Just all that same stuff that applies in person applies on the table. Just
absolutely. You can be a jerk in person or on the table. Don't do it. Don't do it. We've talked about that ad nauseum, like how to behave when you play a game. Just be a decent human being on top of just the computer side of it. And I think something really basic, and I think this goes back to communication again, but like most people are super understanding if you make mistakes in the game. You could one click. If you guys have watched any of our streams where I'm playing, I constantly accidentally hit the undo button thinking it's the dials Like oh, I'm gonna look at the dial, and I click the undo button. I'm like, I'm sorry, Will, I accidentally undid my boost from last turn. And Will's like, oh, just fix it. Like, and we do, but just communicate what's happening. Oh, and then another great tip here is learning how to pull a specific card from the damage deck. This is needed for Kaz's ability, and then also for, I'll show you the dark side, which I guess we can do a little tutorial on that on our YouTube channel on how to do that. Now, Will, how do you do it on TTS?
Anytime there's a stack of something or a bag of something in tabletop, you can just right click it and search. Luckily, the mod creators named all of the cards specific things. So when you do right click and hit search, you can actually type in the name of the card that you're looking for. The Kylo example, Panic Pilot. So just type in, panicked. And it should come up the exact card. Same thing with Kaz, it would work the same way with that. And you could do that with, I'm not sure if there's nothing else in X-Wing that we really search through, but it's pretty common in any other tabletop game, searching through like a bag or a deck of cards, things like that.
And Ryan, how do you do that on Vassal?
So on Vassal, you see the player numbers across the top. Normally, you would pick the player to assign, but there's one of them that has a 0, an underscore, and a 0. You click on that one. It allows you to drag and drop your deck from your player window into there. You should be able to right-click on it and should give you options to pull up the deck and search for a specific card. Pull it out, take that deck from that extra player room, bring it back into yours, and then pull the correct card that you need to have onto either the board for Kylo or onto, per se, Kaz or Kaz's Fireball.
Cool. Alrighty. So that is our section there on just some etiquette in this digital age of X-Wing that we're currently living in. And if you have any other suggestions, if you want to write them down in the future, go ahead, put them in the YouTube comments down below. And overall, just be nice to people. Okay? Be nice to people. And that's we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next topic, our question of the week. All right. So our question of the week comes from Sean LeBlanc, and the question is: with having Darth Vader and Palpatine already in the game, do you think we will ever see Yoda in the game? Okay. Part B of the question, I think, right, can we all say yes? Like, eventually? Like, why wouldn't we? Right? So there.
We hope so.
First one done. As to the next part of the question was, what are your thoughts on why we haven't seen him yet? I don't really have a theory behind why we haven't. Maybe they just needed a better excuse to release it. But I think here's the fun part. What do you think Yoda would do in the game? All right, little speculation. Or what would you want it to do? All right.
I think it's a great opportunity now to release Yoda in the Kashyyyk, whatever that ship is.
The LAT gunship?
The LAT?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in a lot of those.
Yeah, he rides
as
in
a
that.
crew.
And I think as far as ability, I'm thinking of something more like in I'm thinking more video games than Star Wars, because I don't know exactly how it would translate over to Star Wars. But when in video games, you always have like these mass AoE buff characters where area of effect and also in Star Wars lore. For example, in Bane, you guys have read Bane or listened to Bane, I think, right? Darth Bane.
Darth Bane's story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where, the benefit of having a squadron led by a powerful Force user is that on the dark side, they're kind of like breaking the will of the opponent, and they're increasing like the initiative and the motivation of their own. And the Force side, they're kind of like instilling hope and like, oh, this is still possible, and preventing people from giving up by just having them around there, and they're kind of like, while the ships are fighting, the force user commanders are trying to subvert the others by the will of the force, like either make them panic or keep them calm. So that's something that I would love to see carry over to X-Wing, is that level of like an ability that makes, that gives everyone like a buff for a turn, not just one ship, but like every and I don't know what that would be like. Everyone gets to turn one, basically gives everyone a soft focus for a round. Now, obviously, that would be extremely expensive, and maybe a one charge
Yoda,
thing.
27 points.
Wait, Luke is 26. And Supernatural is 30 whatever.
52 points. Go ahead.
But you get what I'm saying, like that admiral command, like not just that commander level that doesn't, that just I don't know how to explain it, but
I think we get the point. I think we got you. We got you, fam. All right, Ryan, what would you want Yoda to do, or what are some ideas you got for the little green dude?
So I think as an upgrade card or crew card, something that's for putting on another ship like the LAT, for example, I agree with Marcel. In a lot of the movies, mostly I think in the Clone Wars series, not sure about books or comics. I'm not too up on those with Yoda. He's always had he's had many scenes where he says, everyone calm yourself, and then like look clearly, right? Which makes me think, all right, it could lead more so towards a Leia-ish type ability with Yoda, where it deals with stress, strain. Probably not ion. Like, it'd be really easy to say just red tokens, but then it would be a lot of mechanical stuff that'd be really weird for him to affect. Although I'd be really concerned with him being able to pull stress or allow like other friendly Jedi Aether sprites to do red maneuvers and get less consequences for that. They're already really powerful.
Seems really good.
So maybe he has a widespread thing affecting generics only. I mean, I know he helps out other Jedi, but it could definitely be a really powerful effect and still priced accordingly. Eventually, in a ship himself, which we've only seen him pilot the Jedi Interceptor, his smaller version, maybe he is a pilot. I see something that deals with either a lot of like barrel roll reposition stuff or something evade token related. For himself when he's fighting, at least as a Jedi, I'm not sure about in the ship, but he's always jumping around, being evadey, really agile. So that's if he was a pilot.
Cool. And what about you, Will?
When I think of Clone Wars Yoda, well, actually, let me first by saying I want him in the little ETA-2, little tiny one.
Yeah.
Little Yoda. He flies it around. Like R2-D2 is like half the ship when he's inside of it. It's pretty big. But they might just let him fly the regular size model. So I'd actually rather see him as a pilot. I agree that they had their chance with the LAAT, but they went with who did they go with? Luminara, not Luminara.
There's Plo Koon and Kit Fisto seen, but there are still cards still flipped down in a stack.
We were freaking out about one that was coordinated to focus. Aceless Secura. See, I think that could have been Yoda, right? It was very, very similar there. But I think we'll probably see him as a pilot now. In one of these crafts. As far as his ability, what I remember from the movies is that when he stops the Force lightning with his hand, I would love to see him kind of like the opposite. I think the opposite of like Fifth Brother's ability, where you could spend your Force to add evade results. So he actually is out there just stopping the lasers with his force, like making a little force bubble around him.
I
think
really
that'd be
hope he's
cool.
not I-5 or higher.
I mean, he's been flying ships for hundreds of years, but well, see, I mean, you make it to where like, he only has 3 force charges, so and you gotta spend 2 of them to add an evade result. So you can't. So he couldn't, in theory, do it every round. He would end up having to be drained.
Yeah, that makes more sense then for sure.
Man, he's a little,
And
little old
obviously
dude.
the ETA2 is a different chassis and can definitely have less health overall.
Yeah. No, you're not going to see the 7B out there, and he's adding 3rd and 4th evades out there in the 7B, which would be amazing. But once again, draining force economy. Everything's got balance. I would like to see him something about like, I would love a thing where he's like blinded by the dark side, to where like he can't modify against dark side users. But I don't like things in the game that are very specific, like Ahav. It's way too specific. And is there another example of that? Other than like taking shields off of things, and they didn't bring any shields.
Ahav is
being
definitely one of the most specific cards, only bigger ships.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else who has like a very specific ability like that. Like specific that your opponent needs to bring a certain kind of ship or a certain kind of chassis for you ever to have effect. So I would just like something where he could use kind of like that force bubble.
Cool. So for me, you guys definitely took some of. I had a couple of those ideas. I'll go ahead with another one though. Kind of going off of the theme of there is another, right? Maybe something along the lines of like not necessarily a coordinate, but maybe offensively, like when you have another friendly ship near you, they can use your force. So you're like being that general, but you're able to use your force for other friendlies defensively or offensively. And then there actually was a pretty cool, I think a cheeky one here from Gnomish Incan in the chat. He says, how about if Yoda makes it so that the rolling of dice operations is reversed? So your opponent rolls their evades, and it's like as if Yoda is seeing the future, right? And then you would attack afterwards, which would then give you the information as to whether or not it was smart to spend a focus or anything like that, It's pretty cheeky because, Yoda talks backwards, so that's...
Yeah, while cool in theory with the, kind of looking in the future with the Force and him talking backwards, that's going to make a whole bunch of judges and TOs just like have nightmares for potential rules and how because they're so specific on how flow chart interact and all that. Yoda would just break them.
My soul.
I'm all for it now. Make D and all them sweat. Make them sweat. Make them hurt.
Well, but we want them to keep doing it though. We don't want to hurt them too much.
We want to make it interesting for them, though. I actually like that a lot because it also would, make the defender decide whether, do I want to spend this focus on defense? Like it would completely that would be really powerful, but it would completely twist things because.
Oh yeah, because what if you rolled out 3 eyeballs and Yoda's about to roll 3 attack dice on you?
Yeah.
Spend it would be very powerful, that's for sure.
All right, cool. Well, that was really fun. So if you guys have any other cool questions like that you want us to answer, go ahead, put it in our Discord, guys. That's where we take our questions of the week from. And thank you to Sean for sending us that question. Now we're gonna go on to our list of the week section, but we're starting with a GSP list debate that we didn't get to last week, and this comes from Crazy Vulcan, and he gave us a list. He didn't give us a list. He gave us a ship that basically we can't touch. Let's go ahead and flip it over to it right there. Okay. So we see the ship, and he says, okay, this is one ship, but I like the ship the way it is right now. You can't change Han at all. You have 108 points to play with, and he doesn't care about bids over 4 points. So what would you do? Now, I know that that internally, and I'll give you that, and this is, by the way, Crazy Vulcan. Shout out to Crazy Vulcan. I know that internally we looked at the Han Solo, and we personally don't love the Han Solo. But that's not the challenge. The challenge is not to change Han Solo. The challenge is to put something with him. So this is Resistance Han, and he has Trick Shot, Rose Tico, Cadel Connix, Engine Upgrade, and Rey's Millennium Falcon. For a couple of those less common cards, Han's ability for the Resistance is you can be placed anywhere in the play area beyond range 3 of an enemy ship during setup. And then Connix says after you reveal your dial, you may set your dial to a basic maneuver of the next higher speed while you execute that maneuver, increasing its difficulty. So giving you some options there as to where you can put your ship. Now, any of you guys want to go first as to what you would throw in there? I know what pops into my mind immediately, but I don't want to take anybody's answer because that's no fun.
I'm gonna take your answer. I
no.
Go first.
All right, Will, what is it?
Okay. So this is coming out of actually his real name eludes me, but Manus Proposal, and he loves flying large base ships, and I've actually seen him fly this combination a couple times. Not this Han Solo, but both Han Solo and Rey in the Millennium Falcons here. Let me see where you're at here. What? No, stop that. Oh, you're
no, that's mine. Leave me alone.
Oh, you're fine. I'm not stealing yours. You just double checking to see if I was stealing his. Well, wait. Are you showing the people?
No. The people see this one. This is me working on mine.
Oh, well, add Rey onto there then.
Okay, Rey.
All right. So, I'm gonna take Rey. Rey needs the fin gunner. Let's start. Add in those blank results so we can have extra things to use our force on. Speaking of extra force, we're bringing Leia Organa. 3 force on Rey then, which is really interesting. She's not going to have her title, so it actually lets Leia let her sloop when she needs to. Another benefit of Leia is that it doesn't have a range restriction. So she can actually help out Han from across the battlefield as well, even on turn 1. We're going to add in a couple of my other go-to upgrades on these things. Because she doesn't have the Millennium Falcon title, I'm going to give her engine upgrade. She's going to need to be fast to catch up to Han and to avoid shots. And I think we end up with only 4 points left there. So I'm going to put Contraband Cybernetics on Rey as well. So that way, it's basically a one-time Rey's Millennium Falcon title. She does need to give, she's running low on force and still needs to sloop. She can still grab that target lock or focus. So, ends up being Rey, Leia, Finn, Engine, and Contraband Cybernetics for 106 points. Gives the list a 2-point bid.
All right. And we are going to be voting, audience, at the end, which one you like the best, all right? So, Marcel, you're up. What you going to do? Never mind. Ryan,
you went to get a
you're
drink.
up.
I went with 2 ships with that Han to make it a 3-ship list. 2 of the more powerful pilots of their chassis. ZZ with Advanced Optics, Heroic, and Crackshot. And Kova with R4, Leia, and Heroic. 4 points left over. Nothing I'm really too interested in spending that on. So you have a 4-point bid. And in the turns where Kova doesn't need to do a red maneuver, maybe kind of...
Sorry, what was on Kova? You went faster than I was ready for.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
So ZZ also has Heroic, along with Crackshot.
Okay.
And then Kova has Heroic, Leia, and R4.
Got it.
So in the turns where either Kova's doing a 1 hard or not going to be in the fight, Leia's open for Han as well to apply some shenanigans with the what I don't know specifically is how that timing is going to work with Kate Connix and Leia at the same time. I haven't dug really deep into that.
The maneuver that you KDL'd isn't the maneuver that you revealed on your dial. So I'd assume that there's no interaction between the maneuver that Connix is putting on the dial and the maneuver that Leia's references.
Yeah, because Kadel changes it.
Right. And then the new maneuver is more difficult.
Is more difficult anyway.
Mm-hmm. By the way, you basically explained Casper Ion X, or however you pronounce that. He had the exact same idea, but he threw a shield upgrade on Kova.
All right.
Probably because there's points for it. Oh, there is points for it.
There is points for it.
Throw a hollow shield on Kova. Go for it.
Sure. Bam. All righty. So, not last but not least, sorry. Marcel, what are you going to do?
So, Han's ability is, it starts off, you maybe place anywhere on the playing board beyond range 3 of an enemy ship, so you can start off anywhere. So, I think just playing off of that, they talked about using Leia for that. I actually want to play off of that by just being fast. Just make people choose and make them have to start making choices fast. So we're gonna go with super solid ships that can be fast and also good on their own right. Everybody talked about ZZ. You started putting ZZ up there. No, you're getting a little ahead of yourself there, almost. But you do have ZZ with heroic, advanced optics. And let's give him trick shot too, or her. Let's give her trick shot because he's got trick shot on Han Solo, so he's probably using big rocks or big gas clouds. Make ZZ punch a little bit harder. Delete that second A-wing. You don't need another A-wing. And let's bring in Fireball. Let's get some Kaz. We love me some Kaz, and Kaz is gonna have heroic. R5 to pop that regen. Let's give him the coaxium hyper fuel. Let's do advanced slam so he can focus up after he's doing his thing, and finish it off with shield upgrade. And if you want, you can put the title in there. He said he doesn't care about bid. I don't think the title's that important. I would probably not use the title. Let's get rid of the title. Title's garbage on this one. So yeah, you put Han on one side, the other two ships opposite, and they can all in 2 turns be anywhere they want on the board and get in on a target and put some. All ships are good on their own. They don't really need support. They fly around.
All right, and last but not least, what would I do? So I went for. I kind of feel.
Last but not least.
Hey, got him. All right. So for mine, I went a little themey. I kind of feel like that's what Crazy Vulcan likes to do. But I also thought this could be cheeky and using a couple of pilots that we don't see too often. So I'm going to go ahead and reach for a couple of X-Wings. We know that the chassis is really good, so there's T-70 X-Wings. I'm going to take that first T-70 X-Wing and make it Temmin Wexley with composure only. Following there, and here's where people are going to go, really, Dion? And I think it'll be fun. I'm going to go with Cara Kun. Okay, Cara Kun with R4 Astromech. Now, here's my reasoning why. With Han Solo starting in a possible weird place, I figured we go with the theme of ships that can move in different ways than usual. Temmin, after performing that 2 through 4 maneuver, can get that extra boost. You have composure in there in order to, if you fail the boost, you get that focus. There's some shenanigans you can do there.
Does that still work? I thought
Composure doesn't. It doesn't let you take another action.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Never mind then. So then we'll just go ahead. We'll
still good with crack.
we'll slap on a R4 astromech.
Put a heroic in there.
I'm gonna put R4 astromech. Okay. And then with Karakun, I also want an R4 astromech so that, after doing something like a Talon row, you could do something like R4 astromech hard to turn, and then you could boost, which her ability allows you to do boost with 1 hearts instead, and be just in a completely funky place after doing a Talon roll or something like that. So I think that could be super duper fun. So we're gonna go ahead and put the poll up on the screen here in a minute. Who do you think has the best, Marcel?
Seriously?
Yeah.
I like Kaz. I don't know. I like yours too, but I like Kaz.
So here we'll go. This is list of the week ? I keep forgetting to save this. So this is Dion, Marcel, Ryan, and Will. And we'll boom, get rid of those. Start the poll. There you go. Who's your favorite Crazy Vulcan GSP debates? 1, 2, 3.
Shouldn't this be decided by
or
one
4?
person?
Huh?
So shouldn't this be decided by one person?
He's not on right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what we need.
Fair.
All right, so again, all you have to do is type 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat. 1 is a vote for Dion, 2 is a vote for Marcel, 3 is a vote for Ryan, and 4 is a vote for Will. Now, we are at 11:02 right now. I think we just have enough time for our normal lists of the week. I think as we wait for the results to come in here, and I'm going to go ahead and we'll minimize that. We'll put the poll. That wasn't supposed to move. There we go. Put the poll over here while we go with our normal list of the week. So our first list comes from Raptor Ritter. It is a Republic list, and it's going to be Ryan who's going to be taking care of this. Here it is. It is a Wolf with no upgrades. Anakin Skywalker in the Naboo Starfighter with passive sensors and proton torpedoes. Padme with no upgrades, and Luminara with CLT. Ryan, what you gonna do?
So I do think there's always a chance to take a look at Padme and Luminara combination lists. It's a dangerous defensive combination that could be, with the right ships and wingmates, pretty effective, especially if Padme's arc is literally just pointed at Boba, or with his rerolls, if he rerolls a focus, that's his one reroll. Like that, he cannot turn a focus and modify that from there. But always the issue is Padme tends to be a little bit lackluster in helping on any of the offense. So having Anakin is a good option with passive proton torpedoes. Wolf also has a very solid attack. I think the one issue is that Wolf, with Luminara's ability, Wolf is more likely to be bullseyed pretty often, and Luminara's ability to trigger, the enemy cannot have the defending ship in bullseye for Luminara to help them with her sensor jammer like ability. So I think it's best to drop Wolf and slot in Obi-Wan Kenobi with calibrated laser targeting. You get a better endgame ship. You get situations where Luminar a lot of times ends up being a little bit force starved and then ending up mod starved. Obi-Wan kind of helps make sure that if Luminar takes a focus and she needs to keep that either defensively or has the opportunity to keep it offensively, Obi-Wan can use his ability to help Luminar maintain a focus after spending it. while still using her ability to help the friendly ships defensively. Obi-Wan can also help Anakin maintain focus if he has acquired a lock in a prior turn, doesn't have a shot, and needs to use it defensively as well. So Obi-Wan helps with that defensive mindset a little bit further and provides a better endgame ship at an I-5 than having all I-4s, which still good in a lot of hyperspace matchups. But I think just having Obi-Wan, who we know is an extremely high value piece in Republic, is going to be a better starting point than Wolf.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and move on to Marcel's resistance list he's going to be taking a look at. This list comes from Kota Mac. And in this list, we have Poe Dameron with Outmaneuver, R4 Astromech, Integrated S-Foils, and Black 1. ZZ Talo with Heroic and Advanced Optics. Kaz with Outmaneuver and R5 Astromech. And then Vi Moradi in the pod. Marcel, what are we doing here?
I've seen this list. I think I don't know whose is it?
Kota Mac.
Kota Mac. Yeah, I've seen Bartos. He's been playing a variant of this list a lot. With the difference, he's got something else instead of Vimarati on there. But yeah, it seems like a pretty solid list. I would probably not make too many changes on it, but because this is list of the week, we have to put it in the blender, mix it up, and see what comes out. All right, so let's do a little something with it. And I dragged the wrong one to it. Oops, I might have dragged the wrong one, but we'll make it work here anyway. All right, so obviously the weak link here is Vimarati. Now, I actually like Vimarati, but in this particular case, you've got Kazuda, ZZ, and Poe, and for the most part, those ships can move, and they don't really fly in formation. And Vimarati really benefits from having some friendlies around to protect them. So let's get V out of there. And especially if you got outmaneuver. If you got outmaneuver with Poe, which would be the slowest out of these ships, then Poe is not outmaneuvering anyone if he's sticking around a formation. And everything is expensive in the resistance, so we're gonna have to get some points in here. So let's get rid of the outmaneuvers as well. They're good, they're very good, but it'll change the way that this list plays and gets damage in a different way. So let's put Heroic on there just because we want to keep him alive longer, and also let's throw some Heroic on Kazuda. Again, for the same reason, just if you can keep him alive, better. That leaves you with 163, and that is just enough points for my favorite ship in the game right now. You just hit the copy-paste on ZZ. And there you go. A blue squadron with Heroic and Advanced Optics will put out more damage than Poe and Kazuda's outmaneuver, and it'll stay around longer than V, and you'll still get your damage output because you've got blue, and now you're really threatening from all angles with 4 ships that individually can be. They don't have to fly in formation. They can all be doing their own thing, and individually each ship carries its own weight, and makes this list very unpredictable and very fun. And I'm actually going to put it on the table because it does seem like a lot of fun to fly, and it's hyperspace legal.
Very cool.
Yep.
All right, Will is going to be taking on an Imperial list that was submitted by Kurgs Hund. And it is Lieutenant Sai in the Lambda class shuttle with the Director Krennic crew, Jamming Beam, and the ST-321 title. Rear Admiral Sharanu with Emperor Palpatine crew, and Echo with Juke. There was a little bit of text that went along with this, essentially asking mostly about that third piece, the Echo, because he really likes the Lieutenant Sai Rear Admiral synergy with Coordinate. With coordinating the reinforce, but wanted to see what else you can get out of there.
All right, so actually I've spent quite a bit of time trying to find that third piece. looking through different options, looking at who likes the Krennic, who likes flying around. I mean, you can throw another Decimator in there. You can throw Darth Vader in there. Well, I think if you take off Palpatine, you can start putting in Vader, Defender, another Decimator. Some pretty interesting things. Personally, though, I think actually Echo works because Echo can do the decloak out, cut back in. You're going to be out of the way of these other large base ships. One being a turret. Well, I guess their size also back arc though too, so kind of like a turret. But you're going to need a ship to be out of the way of these larger ships who need space to move around. So actually, I'm going to keep Echo in there. I'm just going to play with the upgrades. So one of the things was that actually they had put the optimized prototype on Echo. And that's because Echo was a little bit more naked beforehand. But I don't like Juke and the Director Krennic because I want maximum offense if I'm Krennicing. I don't want to be reducing my attack values by spending those results. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'll go through the kind of just my thought process here. So the first thing I'm going to do is take Juke off of Echo. You're only I4. Sometimes you have to spend that evade. You're not Whisper. I'm going to put on passive sensors, right? Gives him a little bit of target lock action. So he can modify his blanks, which Krennic does not help you with. Then I'm just going to upgrade Emperor to Darth Vader, because Darth Vader is pretty cool. Unfortunately, though, that combo would be better with Juke, right? You can Darth Vader their token off, and then you shoot them with Juke. We all remember Cloak and Choke Whisper. So let me try a different iteration of this, and then we're going to switch. We're going to put Juke back on Echo. Okay. And then put on Hotshot Gunner on Rear Admiral Chernow, who does shoot before Echo and has to shoot the turret. So this would be a way to strip the focus potentially before they could use it on offense, and then you could get that kind of Juke working together as well. I would still, on both of these versions, I'd still put the actually, I think I'm just convinced that I would put the optimized prototype on Rack, and I would not put it on Echo. But I haven't flown it, so maybe it is more appropriate on Echo. But I have one more third iteration because I don't think this one works as great. It's getting the Juke to work, but at the cost of Rear Admiral having to take sometimes a useless crew member there. So my third iteration is just, and I think this is why I fly, because I like juicing up that Echo. So if we were going to keep optimized prototype on Echo, right? I'm going to switch out. Switch out Hotshot Gunner and Juke. Take them both off. We're going to keep passive sensors. You notice I love passive sensors on Phantoms. It's just so good.
It just works.
I hate rolling blanks. Oh, man, do I hate rolling blanks. But passive sensors isn't as good unless you're bringing Fifth Brother. So that's where we're going to put Fifth Brother on Echo, which is kind of sad because it's actually the same amount of points as the Emperor Palpatine. So you could put a Palpatine on there. You can put Palpatine back on there if you fly your Admiral a little bit more defensive. I'm going in guns blazing with my Rear Admiral here. So,
well, I think Palp is more flexible, but
of course,
is he more likely to die? I don't know.
Because how I'm flying, yeah, as you see the rest of the list, Fifth Brother starts making a little bit more sense.
Right.
Because my last two upgrades, because we shouldn't have too many points left over. 4 points.
4.
That's just enough to get three different things. We're gonna get hull upgrade. Well, the third one's a bid. Spoiler alert. But we're gonna take a hull or a shield. I'm gonna take hull because I want the 1 point bid on Rear Admiral. It's 2 points. That's so cheap. And then I'm gonna take my new favorite upgrade in the Empire, and that's Ruthless on Echo. man, between Rear Admiral and Lieutenant Sai, you got a lot of hell sitting around to be ruthless in.
Just use it.
Yeah. So this Echo build's probably going to hit 3 for 3 almost every time if you could utilize Target Lock, Fifth Brother, and Ruthless. But like I said, I would probably fly Raka pretty aggressive in this. He's coming in. He wants it. So this is where I would end up. I would just have a pretty cool Echo back here. The only problem that I see with the list is the whole is ST321. Because no other ships are moving before Psy. I had this problem a lot when I was flying Psy Echo Vader, is that Psy would move, okay, try to coordinate somebody, but then no other ship has moved, so no ships are within range 3. So I would be careful about that. Echo, I think, could do that. I was able to do it a couple times when I was playing it to where she could decloak into range 3 if no one else was moving, and then I could get the free target lock. But this is my crazy version of it, which has a very powerful Echo, which is kind of going against the actual build, but I think it'd work pretty good.
Awesome. So those were our lists of the week for today, April 6th, 2020. Will, you did win the vote, 50% of the vote for the GSP
for the Ray?
debate.
So
I've
been on the bad end of that combination a couple times now, so it does work.
Awesome. So hopefully everybody out there enjoyed our show for today. That is the end of our X-Wing content. I just want to hang out with you guys for a little bit. So if you don't care about random stupid debates or about how Dion did a lot of plumbing at his house today and what happened and all the fun there, you can just turn it off now. Have a great day. Gold Squadron out. Now here we had this debate a couple of podcasts ago. We were talking about, pirate versus ninja, right? Pirate versus ninja, which I think is very, very basic debate. I understand. We basically ended 50-50 as to which one was correct. The chat did end up voting ninja in the end. Let the record show. Now here is another question for you guys, just to get into your mind. You're on a desert island. You have to eat one food for the rest of your life. Every day. It magically appears. Now, this is what I would consider cheating. Don't say something like a 4-course meal. Like, it has to be like one thing. Like, it might have multiple pieces in it.
Okay,
Wait.
Does this magical thing
This is magic.
also give you convert the food to give you all of the nutrients needed to sustain a healthy life? That's important.
That is a good caveat for the question.
Because if you say, "Oh, I want,"
yes.
whatever.
How about yes. The food also magically has all the nutrients you need. No matter what. Like you're fine. You're not gonna, get scurvy because you don't have any fruit.
My rules question for this.
Of course, we start with rules questions.
I'm just making a caveat because if I say chicken wings,
there has to be specific flavor. Specific flavor.
I was gonna say I can't get garlic parm one day.
This is not
next.
Buffalo Wild Wings Island. This is you get one thing.
Okay, that's what I was making sure because that opens it up quite a bit.
All right. Who wants the floor? Anybody?
All right. So what were the official approved ground rules?
And also, Dion, I think you have to go first because you knew this was coming, so we need time to think. So you gotta,
Ryan. It will sustain you, and it has to be the exact same thing every day. Exact same thing.
Exact same thing every day.
And it's not a meal; it's a
single item.
It's a item of a meal, so you can say like
Right.
mashed potatoes with gravy.
I would say that the drink is not
macaroni and
included. Just assume you're going to be drinking water. Okay.
No,
No.
okay, that's it. I'm getting off this island.
Hey, you didn't have a choice. You've been placed here. All right. There's no like extra sides or anything like that. You get like the thing. Okay, prepared one way every time. All right. I think that was pretty clear. I think for me, and this might seem like super basic, it would be a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on French bread. I know that seems really, really strange. Okay.
So,
Yes, out of all the foods in the world, yes.
well, I know Chris Allen's is going to be chicken nuggets. So, so we got the chicken nuggets and we got the PBJ.
Yeah. So yeah, mine would be
Alright.
peanut butter and jelly sandwich because listen, I have had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day, almost every day for like my entire life, and I haven't gotten sick of it yet. Okay, because that's the other part you got to wonder about. It's like, I don't want to get sick of the food that I'm eating. So peanut butter and jelly sandwich, always exciting. Creamy peanut butter, and some nice French bread with that. Boom.
I think I know mine.
All right, Marcel.
So I have never, and I don't think I will ever get sick of a really fresh Philly sushi roll. Philly. So
Well,
the
what
Philly
makes it a
sushi
Philly?
roll-
They get from Philly?
No, the Philly one means it's salmon, so it's red meat.
Okay.
It's salmon, cream cheese, cucumber, rice, sesame seed, and actually I'll make it spicy. So they also have the spicy mayo on it. So a little bit of spicy mayo, cream cheese, salmon, rice, a little bit of sesame, and the seaweed. And I can eat that every single day and never once get tired of it.
All right. Ryan, what about you?
I'm gonna go with. It's gonna be a bunch of ingredients. It's basically just one of those like dinner level salads where you have, obviously whatever iceberg lettuce, romaine, spinach. I don't care what combination. All of it's good to me. I'll take. I've had multitudes of meat. I've done steak. I've done chicken. So I guess if we can't because it would differentiate all the time. If I had to pick one, we'll just go with the standard really good chicken Caesar salad.
All right, chicken Caesar salad. Very nice. Very nice. And what about you, Will?
Oh, I'm so torn. Because
Perfect. I left you for last.
I'm so torn because I'm so close to confirming supreme deep dish pizza. You know what I'm talking about. Chicago style, classy, with the deepest red marinara. But I'm torn though.
Okay.
I'm torn because I have a serious sweet tooth. Okay.
Okay.
And I think at a certain point I would get over that and just crave some sweets. So I'm trying to think of a savory dessert or a sweet entree, and
That's called a Philly roll. It's got a cheese. It's got salmon.
no, I think I'm gonna go with
salt and sweetness and all goodness combined into one.
Man, that's tough. I'm gonna have to go with deep dish pizza.
Deep dish pizza. All right.
I'll have to figure out a way not to go without sweets.
See, that's
Okay,
the other
from a
reason.
guy-
Like peanut
coming
butter
from
and
a guy
jelly
from
is also
Chicago.
salty sweet. Is both. Right.
Yeah,
together.
you are right on that one. But you got to be saying strawberry jelly, right?
No, grape jelly. What is this
Oh my
heathenistic
God, okay,
strawberry
you're off the
jelly?
island.
Get out of
You're off the
here.
island. It's got to be strawberry jelly. Come on. And
I'm
when
out.
we talked about this, nutty or creamy?
Okay, because it's on a
Nutty or
sandwich,
creamy?
it needs to be creamy. Okay.
You're safe on that one. I'm
Okay,
like, so
I
on the
have
grape.
had crunchy peanut butter sandwiches, and they're enjoyable, but I would in order to have creamy peanut butter, crunchy peanut butter, I would have to have milk to have with my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I can do water and creamy, but I think every day I just prefer the creamy. All right. Well, that was fun. As for my plumbing adventures, my water pressure pump broke in my house. So I spent all day today fixing it. All of it. Wasn't any fun. I have a gash on my leg because I accidentally dropped it and slashed my leg.
Is this a 100% de-owned fixed job?
100%. 100%. Teflon taped it. Got that. Forgot the name of the brand, the sealant. I did it all. And discovered which pipes wanted to come apart and which ones didn't. That was really fun. And then putting it, here was the most frustrating part, is putting it together, finishing the job, thought I was finished up in 3 hours. I did it all by myself, and then realized that I had 2 very small leaks and just sat there looking at it for 15 minutes going this could survive like this, right? And going no. So I had to go back and I redid a bunch of finishings and realized there was one spot where I forgot to put sealant, and yeah. But yeah, 100% de-owned, and I'm hoping that tomorrow, or maybe when I just jump off this podcast for today, that I can go downstairs to my basement and it is perfectly dry underneath there.
I feel like pride just
radiating off my
stuff.
Yeah,
for
dude,
you, pride for you, that's a big step, doing your own plumbing, that's a big step in life, yeah, big ups on that.
All right, did you guys see? Quick question: did you 3 see my post about the jobs thing?
Yeah, I didn't read it all the way through because I had seen 5 others that weekend.
Okay,
everyone was doing it.
I did see that one. I knew a lot of them that you had worked.
Yeah, I did actually.
All right, cool. We'll talk about it next week. But that was a fun one, and we'll have the audience guess.
And we're still waiting for that content, by the way.
Oh, shut up. All right, guys. Good night. We love you all. Gold Squadron out.